Shalom, family. This is kind of slow. Today, I would just like to share an article on the history of Abraham, where he came from, who he was related to, the people that he was related to. So I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time, but I thought it was interesting. So, anyways, this is by an anthropologist by the name of Alice Lindsay. And she's an anthropologist on biblical history. Pretty fair woman. She tells it like it is. She don't try to seem like she's not trying to hide anything. Um, you may want to take the link, copy of the link, or maybe jot down the link at the very top because it's a long article, but I just want to start in the middle of it. Specifically, he's talking about Abraham ancestors. So it says, starting here, it says, an anthropologist look at the Genesis 1 and 2. It goes on to say, from the perspective, let's see, from the perspective of an anthropology, Genesis 1 and 2 is rich in data that enables us to identify the cultural context of Abraham's ancestors. Though the material is not to be taken as a scientific account, it nonetheless contains data about Abraham's ancestors that anthropology, archaeology, linguistics, and DNA studies can confirm. This goes on to say Noah was one of Abraham's ancestors. Noah's great-grandson was Nimrod, a Kushite, who was a Hamite, kingdom builder who left Africa and established a territory for himself in Mesopotamia. Let's see if I can pull up Mesopotamia map. Let's see my notes. I know I made a copy of Mesopotamia map. I just made that just a minute ago. So right here. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And here is Mesopotamia map here. So it says that that's Mesopotamia. Let me go back to the article, which it looked like it kind of jumped. No, Mesopotamia. So I just showed you the share Mesopotamia map. And this is Mesopotamia, the Levant here. And look, Ebla, Euphrates River, the Syrian Kingdom, Assyria. This is the ancient map. Arabian Desert, summer, the Samaritans, Caspian, Caucasus. Then it has the Sinai Desert, Lower Egypt, Sahara, Upper Egypt. Then it has Canaan, Palestine. It looks kind of backwards. Normally the African map shows Canaan up this way. So this is Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, South, North, East, and West, I guess. But anyways, go on with the article. It says, Noah was one of Abraham's ancestors. Noah's great-grandson was Nimrod, a Kushite kingdom builder who left Africa and established a territory for himself in Mesopotamia. This explains why we first meet Abraham in Mesopotamia. However, this cultural context appears to be Kushite. DNA studies have confirmed the Kushite migration out of Africa. We overcome most of we overcome most of the supposed contradiction between science and scripture once we identify the context of Abraham's ancestors as cattle herding Proto-Saharans and Nilok living during the African humid period. African aqualistic, I guess during a time of hot hot weather, I guess, extreme hot weather. This is when the Sahara was green and wet. The Saharan petro, petroglyphy, petroglyph dated, I'm just getting some of these words, dating to 4300 to 2900 BC, depict boats transporting cattle. It is also significant that the only place on earth which is claimed by the natives to be Noah's homeland is Borno, or land of Noah, in the region of Lake Chad. Check this out, y'all. So here's Lake Chad. Lake Chad. And then here up below is Lake Congo. So this is the ancient map. This is an ancient human world geography map on Lake Chad. Has some other areas here, but it says Lake Chad right here. So again, it says, it is also significant that the only place on earth which is claimed by the natives to be Noah's homeland is Borno, land of Noah, or in the region of Lake Chad. Now I just showed you Lake Chad in Africa. It says Noah would have lived in the Lake Chad area around 6,000 years ago. About right. At that time, Elohim, or God Father, Re, and God's son Horus, talking some Egyptian stuff now, but I digress, were worshipped at the Horus Hebrew shrine city of Nakin. Let me move that over a little. Nekhen. Rakapolis on the Nile. This was a very prestigious city, as has been shown through archaeological discovery there. The votive offering and mace heads were larger than have been found elsewhere. There are numerous burial sites of high-ranking persons, some of whom had long, wavy red hair. Burial 79. These are likely ancestors of the Horites of Edom, Genesis 36. An Edomite chief named Esau is described in Genesis as red and hairy. Now she has also some writing on Genesis, showing the people from Africa that were called Edomites, and they had several kingdoms, and they were Africans, but they were red skinned, mahogany, and some of them had dark hair, some had red hair. So the actual Esau was African, wasn't no white man, and she has the whole story and pictures on that. So you may want to also check that out on that website up above on this link here. It says an Edomite chief named Esau is described in Genesis as red hairy. In fact, I did a study. I showed her. In fact, I showed the article. I did a video, and I showed the article, and I also showed the people of Esau and how they looked. They were not Caucasian. They were red. They were dark. They were red skinned Africans, but there was like a mahogany red. Genesis is red and hairy. It says some of the graves at Nekhen had painted ostrich eggs, symbols of the hope of resurrection. The earliest texts that speak of boldly bodily resurrection are found among the Horites and Sethite Hebrew. Using kinship analysis, a tool of cultural anthropology, the king list of Genesis 4, 5, 2, 25, and 36, or Genesis 4, 5, 2, and 25, and 36 have been shown to be authentic. Let me read that again. Using kinship analysis, a tool of cultural anthropology, the king list of Genesis 4, 11, 5, 4, 5, I don't know if that's 2, 11, 4, 5, 11, 25, and 36, have been shown to be authentic. They speak of the historical persons. There are Horites and Sethite Jews rulers. They were a moiety, that is, one people divided into two ritual groups. We have writings from these rulers, priests, that dated to 4400 BC, roughly Noah's time. Do I want to read some more of this? It says the ancient Egyptian period text 2400 to 2000 BC tells us that the Horites and the Sethites, I think that's how I'm pronouncing that, maintained separate settlements. Utterance 308 of the pyramid text addresses them as separate yet related groups. Hail to you, Horus in the Horite Mount. Hail to you, Horus in the Senhite Mount. The utterance 470 contrasts the Horite Mount with the Sethite Mounts, designating the Horite Mounts the high mounts, whatever that is. Let me go down some more. I really just want to point out Abraham. I want to go down further here. You can go and read this. I don't want to read all of this. Okay, let me go back. It says the rising king unites the people, restores the former state of blessedness, and unites heaven and earth. Let me go back. Hold on. I want to do this. So I might as well go ahead and read this. Okay, let me read this. It says the Horites and Sethite Hebrews share religious practices and belief, and they worship the same God and serve the same king. And they're going about the mounts. And it says, in his resurrection body, the king is to traverse the mount of Horus of southerners, and traverse the mount of Horus of the northerners. In this, in parentheses, it says, I guess that's where you see this information. It says the risen king restores his settlements and cities and open doors to the westerners, easterners, northerners, and southerners. He is to ascend to heaven. The risen king unites the people, restores the former state of the blessedness, and unites heaven and earth. When seen from the perspective, the Horite Hebrew religion appears to be the foundation of the Messianic hope that is fulfilled in Yeshua, in Jesus of Nazareth. Okay, so it's two. Okay, it's the Horite Jews. The Horite Jews. I have to do a little study on that. I know the Horites during the time of the Egyptian. Of course, I guess it would be because there were Hebrews living in Egyptian, so they picked up a lot of the culture and stuff, but kept their own, but picked up and kind of seemed like mixed it. But anyways, the reason I wanted to show was specifically for Abraham, but I can go on and read some because I didn't really look it all over. I just thought I'd just share why I was reading it. I thought it was interesting. So it says this expectation was expressed about 1,000 years before Psalms 91, and Utterance 388 of the Pyramid. So they compare Psalms 91 and Utterance 388 of the Pyramid text in Egypt. So they're saying they were serving the same God, the Horites and the what do you call them? The Horites and the Sethites were serving the same God, which was Yahuwah. Okay, then it goes on to say, It says this expectation was expressed about 1,000 years before Psalm 91 and utterance 388 of the Pyramid text. Horus has shattered or crushed the mouth of the serpent with the sole of his foot. Wow, that's real interesting, y'all. So they were sharing, they were mixing, it seemed like it. You have the Jews or the Hebrews with the Messianic Nazareth teaching, and then you had also the Egyptians or or what you call them, Horites, Hebrews, and the Sethite Hebrews. Well, I guess they were Hebrews living in Egypt, I guess. It says Horus has shattered, crushed them out. Sound like from the Bible. The question of in accuracy in inerrancy, inerrancy. The question of inerrancy. Once we identify, okay, so once we identify Noah's culture, this is what I want to get to, Abraham and Noah. Once we identify Noah's culture context, we may investigate further. The Lake Chad region was constantly threatened by flood during the Noah time. Let's go back and look at Lake Chad again. Again, here's Lake Chad. Just around here, Lake Chad. And then below that, you have the Lake Congo. This is in Africa. This is an Africa story. Once we identify Noah's culture context, we may investigate further. The Lake Chad region was constantly threatened by the flood during the Noah time. The Lake Chad Basin is relatively flat and prone to monsoonal flooding. It is ringed by mountains from which water drained into the basin during the African humid period. There was an extensive system of interconnection lakes and rivers across the Sahara. We know where the Sahara is. The Western Nile watershed extended well into the Sudan. Hydrological studies indicate many periods of flooding from the Nile to the Atlantic coast of Nigeria. The archaeological discovery that the Proto-Saharan rulers kept menagerie, men, menagerie, menagerie, or exotic animals. Menageries. Excuse me. Okay. Um, the Western Nile, okay, watershed extended well into the Sudan. The hydrological studies indicate many periods of flooding from the Nile to the Atlantic coast of Nigeria. It says in Genesis 7:9, it is likely that these rulers attempted to rescue the prized creatures when threatened by an inundation. One of the oldest known zoological collections was found during the 2000 excavation at Neck Hen. The menagerie dates to about 5,500 years ago and including hippos, elephants, baboons, and wildcats. Menagerie, I think that's it. It says the Hebrew term for earth in the flood story is Eres, which also means territory. From the perspective of Noah, in a flooded lake area, it would have appeared that his entire territory was underwater. Biblical scholars agree that Genesis 1 and 2 is a complex and layered body of material. It contains data that pertains to the earliest Hebrew ancestors and material that appears to have been redacted by at least two later sources. The Deuteronomist, historian, and Jewish rabbis, the Deuteronomist writes from the context of the Neo Babylonian period. Of course, they do, most rabbis do, 700, 300 BC, about 1500 years after Abraham. The rabbinic insertion of reflects an even later period. They date from the 1st century AD to 600 AD. This is the contextual incongruity is evidenced in Genesis 6:4, which posts the Nephilims as fallen angels and a rabbinic notion, while also presenting them as historical heroes of days gone by, men of renown. The Nephilim is derived from the same root as the Aramaic Nibi, which means giant, as in great. This is equivalent to the Arabic Nifi, meaning hunter. Nor great grandson Nimrod is described as a mighty hunter or a mighty man before the Lord. I'm almost finished. It says the perspective of Noah and the post-exilic Jews represent, or Hebrews, represent the contextual incongruities. It is a matter of different culture, context, and yet the significant data has been preserved in the Genesis prehistory. Understanding the material requires unraveling the interwoven elements and paying attention to textual and contextual incongruities. Contextual incongruities are not errors. They are not errors. It is best to read the biblical text with some skepticism, but since God is truthful and He has superintended the scriptures, they tell us truth. We should read them as if they were briefs. Law brief. There is a majority opinion and a minority. It says we should read them as if they were law briefs. There is a majority opinion and a minority opinion. To gain a better understanding of Genesis 1 and 2, we need to be aware of the different perspective. So I thought I would share that little. Like I said, I didn't read it before I got on here. I just thought I would just read it as I shared it because I was looking at it for the first time, this particular article. But she has a lot of articles on Genesis. Really go deep. She really gives some real good history, archaeological history, all of that stuff. She's really good. And she seems to be honest and fair and truthful about her findings. So, anyways, you can go read this full article. It's really a real interesting article. In fact, I would really highly suggest that you all take a copy or write down the website and go check out her website. She has tons of stuff with DNA studies, human fossil studies, what they call morphological studies. She has all kinds of studies, anthropology studies, scriptures, biblical anthropology, and also canonical scriptures too. So she has a lot of proof in what she teach and what she writes on. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that, you all. So I hope you all enjoy that little because y'all was reading along with me. That was my first time actually reading the article. I'm trying to get out of here. So I wanted to show something else here. Um, I think that's going to be about it. I think that's it. I wanted to show another map and another article, But I'm going to go ahead and close this out because I have to get out and get that map. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out. And I say shalom, you all, and have a blessed evening.